This is the Padua Podcast Network.
Running a Fever, episode 122, Pliability. Welcome to Running a Fever podcast. I am Michael Davis, and I love my life so much that I want to make it last as long as possible. And not only that, I'm not just trying to add life to my years to my life. I'm trying to add life to my years and have a good, active, healthy, happy life for as long as possible. If you feel the same way or you want to, come along. We'll get there together. It's a beautiful day at Lake Fayetteville, but it's been really cold. I put so many layers on that I kind of feel like the kid in A Christmas Story that if he fell down, he couldn't even get up because he was had so much clothes on that he was just like a big ball of clothing. But I'm warming up, and it's warming up, and I've taken off my hat and gloves, and still feeling kind of warm. Still got the hood on that may come down. But yeah, I've got all these layers on, and it's working today. When the wind picks up, it's almost like you can't put on enough clothing. Probably need to put on my raincoat in order to protect myself from that wind, but I didn't do that, and it's still been relatively calm. And and crossing the dam, and it almost looks like there's ice on the lake, which is unusual. And I know you get plenty of pictures from me of the lake, but I don't think I've ever taken a picture of ice on the lake, so I'm going to try to get that and publish it for you with today's episode. So we've been talking about the TB12 method, which is a book written by Tom Brady, and it's more than a book. It's a book, a website. He's got a number of products, and he trains, or his TB12 training center trains athletes in the TB12 method. There may be a certification program, and I've been really impressed with what I've learned so far, and I think that this will be a growing and big thing in the future. Now, I'm a big Patriots fan, so any Patriots fan is a fan of Tom Brady, no doubt about that. But and I lived in Massachusetts from 2000 to early 2006. Tom Brady, I remember when he took over from Drew Bledsoe. I remember that game, and he has been the starter pretty much ever since. He's been amazing. So I talked about that when we started this discussion, and so I won't spend too much time on that. But today I'm going to talk about, we've already covered quite a bit about the diet program and the nutrition aspect, and there's several sort of aspects to this program, including fitness and supplementation, a mental aspect of mental fitness, and when to rest, etc. There's a lot to unpack from this method that he and his trainer have been developing for over a decade, and basically most of his career as a professional football player. And central to this whole concept is pliability. And this is really, it comes into play in all the aspects of, because his goal is to have peak performance, right? So in terms of athletics, that has to do with your body, your muscles. Well, other things come into that, like your mental health comes into that, and your nutrition and diet comes into that. So the goal is pliability. So, it's the central concept of his physical training program, including all the aspects that I just talked about. He spends these days 50 at the age of 41. Remember, he talks about how it's different at different ages, but he spends 50% of his training time on pliability and the rest on the more traditional strength training and cardio. Howdy. And he admits that these things are important. You have to be strong, including your heart. And so these aspects of traditional training are very important. But in order to get the most out of that training, he says that the pliability aspect is very important. Essential, in fact. Howdy. So what is pliability? Well, the idea is to have, instead of dense, short, stiff muscles, to have long, soft, what he calls primed muscles. And this allows you to get basically 100% more range of motion out of your muscles. He said when he was doing the traditional training, he only had about 50% of the potential use of these muscles. And going through the spillway, which is very busy. And the spillway is very busy. Not only that, but the bridge is slippery. Ever see those signs that say, bridge may ice in cold weather? That's true. So again, most of the trail is pretty safe, but I have to be extra careful in these areas and be vigilant about looking for the ice. Pliability helps you absorb the impact better. And the reason why it's so much better for injury prevention and recovery, because if something's stiff, it breaks easily, right? I mean, it's just a simple concept of physics. And so if I fell on the ice today, I'd probably be a lot more likely to get injured and have a muscle tear or break because of, and it's unintentional, right? The intentional part is like when you're training, you have to put impact and trauma, he calls it, on your muscles. But because I've been working out for, every day just about for 6-7 months, I have built some dense, short muscles of the type that are, strength again is necessary, but those are the types that Tom Brady warns about. And that's what I have. And I've noticed that I really need some flexibility. I mean, I still have trouble sometimes getting up, if I've been doing some therapy on the floor or something. So I'm really paying very close attention to this. How you doing? So hood is coming off as I enter Veterans Park. So with that in mind, he recommends doing pliability training before and after every workout in order to, as you build these dense muscles, train your brain, and that's something we'll talk about in a minute, but basically break these muscles down and transform them into longer, softer muscles. Howdy. Almost playing chicken with somebody because I went up on the wrong side of the trail. So you're going to help prevent injury, and you're going to improve recovery from injuries when they happen. And this is a guy who professional football is, man, honestly, I would not play professional football for any amount of money because it's easy for me to say, extremely unlikely that I, at any point in my life, would have been able to do that. And in Tom Brady's story, he basically says he's gone against the odds all the time. And in fact, he was a 6th round draft pick. So he was the 6th quarterback picked to play in the NFL. Was thinking he would have to go sell insurance instead of playing football. An amazing story. But anyway, helping prevent injury. But football and professional football, obviously, you're very prone to injury because you're getting hit all the time. This is apart from maybe boxing, and maybe even more so, this is a contact sport, the ultimate contact sport. And your entire body takes some pretty tough hits, as you can see if you've ever watched the game. So what is this pliability training? How do you get to that point of how do you make long, soft, primed muscles? The actions are intentional rhythmic trauma, and when he does it, him and his trainer apply this to 20 different muscle groups, so the whole body basically. So as trauma is, when you provide or introduce trauma into your muscles, and this is a concept that is, throughout. If you stress your heart in the right way, you can make a stronger heart. If you stress your muscles in the right way, you can increase strength. So this is a pretty simple concept that's prevalent throughout all types of physical training. But the difference here is that it's rhythmic and the way it's done. The rhythmic part is what activates the nervous system. So these are essentially resistance exercises, but they're very different than weight training, stretching, or massage because of that rhythmic aspect. So there's a very important neurological aspect to this program, and that's why the brain comes in, right? So what is the brain's contribution? Why do you want to activate your nervous system? Well, Tom says that, I call him Tom because we're on a first name basis. By the way, Tom, if you're listening to this, you're welcome to be interviewed on the show anytime. Just contact me and we can make that happen. It's no problem. So what is the brain's contribution to pliability training? The repeated activity trains the brain that this is the desired state. Have you ever noticed that when you do something over and over, when you practice it, you eventually get to the point where you don't really have to think about it much, if at all? In fact, this can be dangerous in terms of driving, right? Because you get to the point where you've driven this route so many times, your brain isn't even engaged while you're driving, and that's obviously very dangerous. But that's the whole idea. Practice makes perfect. Once you have established the fundamentals as no-brainers, as they call them, really what it means is your brain is trained that this is the state you want to go in, and so it tries to get you there. The brain is the most amazing supercomputer, and it's a gift from God. We need to use it to its fullest potential. So this repeated activity trains our brains that this is the desired state. So it's training the brain that we want long, soft muscles. And so that when we take those impacts, it is relaxing and contracting at 100%. He says this is imperative. It's imperative to train your brain to see long, soft, primed muscles as the desired state. It's essential to getting the most out of this program. And he says that pliability training creates new neural pathways in the brain. And I think all that really means is you're creating this new sort of track that the brain decides it needs to go on. And again, the learning process is initially more involved. And then once you learn it, that pathway is already there. It trains it to contract and relax your muscles again at 100%. So when you do, weight training, you're not necessarily doing that. Or actually, you're doing the opposite. You're training your brain that you want to be able to lift 200 pounds straight up from a bench, right? And your muscles need to be available to do that and ready to do that in certain ways. So after you do this kind of thing, you have to retrain your brain, and that repeated activity is what does that. So how do you do that? What's the specifics of it? Well, we'll get into it later on. There's an entire workout section of the book. And it's interesting that Tom Brady uses almost no weights in his strength training. He uses resistance bands for reasons we'll talk about later. And this is, it's a long time been a way of training in physical therapy. When I was in physical therapy last summer, they gave me these rubber bands and I used them in my training to avoid injury and stuff like that. But he uses them for strength training. That's all he uses, pretty much. So he recommends working with a TB12 certified body coach. Last time I checked, the certification program is not completely ready. They may be doing it offline, but if you go to the website, it says sign up for information as this program becomes available and is still being developed. But this is one of the first things I thought of when I found this. It's so revolutionary that it's going to spread everywhere, and there's going to be a desire and a need for trainers to be certified and trained in this program. But there are alternatives to going to Foxborough, Massachusetts, and attending getting your training there. And they outline these in the books. It includes using a vibrating foam roller or sphere, working with a partner, or even self-treatment. And it's interesting. This book is different than I expected physically. It's really the size of a coffee table book, but it's not just pictures. It's got all the slick pages in it, and it does have a lot of pictures of people demonstrating the exercises, pictures of the types of food you have in it. But it's by no means just a picture book. There's a full book of information and a lot more words than you might stereotypically expect from a professional athlete. There are pictures of Tom Brady doing these self-treatment, or self-training exercises. Now, why do you need a vibrating ball or a vibrating roller? The reason is that's what provides that repetitive stimulation, so that your nervous system is activated and your brain is now creating these neural pathways because you've done it so many times that I almost passed by a pencil on the ground. And you might think a pencil, that's not worth much. Why? Well, I don't want to go to waste. Dixon Ticonderoga pencil. I believe this is a number 2 pencil with an eraser, fairly long, has plenty of life left in it, and I'm a writer, so I love those things. Anyway, Vibration activates the nervous system and creates those neural pathways that we talked about earlier. So very interesting concepts, and I'm definitely going to continue to read this entire book, and I'll pass on information as it comes to me. I'll pass it on to you, because that's what I do here. That's what I love to do. It's part of my mission in life, is to help other people improve their lives through fitness, diet, and medicine. So I hope you're enjoying the mini-series, the TB12 mini-series. And if you got the fever, keep it. And if you don't have it, get it. And we'll talk to you next time on Running the Fever.